No, my question is, who serves him the papers, Kiki? Does he walk up to himself, hand himself an envelope, look himself in the eye and say, "You've been served"? Oh, we're on. So the clerk pulls up the file, and the complainant's name and the defendant's name autofill into the same field. And the system just freezes, Kiki. Because it has no idea which box to put. Oh. Monday, June 8th. We were dark for the weekend. The weekend went ahead and accused itself of several things. Tonight, a sitting senator filed an official complaint alleging the election was rigged, and the man he accused is reachable at the same phone number. We'll tell you who has to lose the case for the other one to win. And the most valuable company on the planet is housing the future of human reasoning in a structure that does not have walls in the sense you would normally require of a building.
I'm Kiki, and I am genuinely glad you're here today. All of you, right as you are. Let's get into it. Hi, sweet friends. This program contains strong language, adult content, satire, and exactly one man who is, as of this broadcast, his own arch nemesis, which we're told is more common than you'd think, just usually less notarized. There are also 40 geese who made a decision, and a senator who needs a middle initial to find himself. Be gentle with each other. Learn one person's whole name today. Enjoy!
The story tonight starts with the simplest accusation in politics. Someone is cheating to win an election. You've heard it 1,000 times. It's the most automatic sentence in American public life. Somebody points across the aisle and says, "That man rigged it." And for a decade, we've argued about whether the man across the aisle did anything at all. This week, a sitting senator made the accusation, and then we all looked across the aisle to see who he was pointing at. And the part that should stop the room is that there was nobody new there. He was pointing at a man who shares everything with him except a court date. The document required a level of specificity that most accusations never need. It needed to establish, in writing, that the two people involved were two people.
And I think there's something almost tidy about it, Sloan. He's not dragging some poor stranger through the mud. He's not picking a fight with a neighbor. The whole grievance stays in the family. He found the one opponent who already knows exactly how he thinks. Whatever happens, nobody at that dinner table has to apologize to anybody they didn't already know.
That's the warmest possible read, Kiki, and it's the one that frightens me. Because the machinery that processed this didn't pause. It does not require a real opponent anymore. It requires a name and a grievance. And tonight, one man supplied both. Twice. The answer is one letter wide. Here's the detail the headline glides past. The complaint Senator Dan Sullivan filed is a real document. Signatures, a fee, a case number, alleging fraud against a primary challenger also named Dan Sullivan. 2 men, 1 name. And the senator's legal team had to specify, in writing, which Dan Sullivan was the victim and which Dan Sullivan was the suspect. They used a middle initial. The complaint hinges on a middle initial, and the thing that should stop the room is that this is not a glitch. The system worked perfectly. It accepted the filing, opened a case, and assigned a date. Because the machinery of electoral grievance now requires exactly 2 things: a name and a grievance. Dan Sullivan had both. Dan Sullivan also had both. The form did not flinch.
But Sloan, I think that's just efficient, sweetie. Why drag a whole other human being into a feud when you already contain everything you need? He found the opponent who would never miss a hearing, never go to the press, never say a word he didn't authorize. That's not paranoia. That's a man who finally found someone he can trust.
That's the cleanest version, Kiki, and it's horrifying. Because the challenger, the other Dan Sullivan, the one with the different middle initial, is, by every account, a real person who simply registered to run with the name his parents gave him. He didn't impersonate anybody. He's been Dan Sullivan his entire life. And the incumbent's argument, stripped to the bone, is that the most fraudulent thing his opponent did was exist while named correctly. And here's the part nobody is drawing, so I will. For a decade, the threat was mules, dead voters, foreign servers, a stranger in a server farm doing it to you. The first clean example of a name actually gaming the system is a sitting senator filing an affidavit against a man with his own face and his own driver's license. The call is coming from inside the ballot. A United States senator has accused his own name of cheating, and the only evidence separating the perpetrator from the plaintiff is a single letter in the middle. That's the whole case. One letter. Not a policy, not a platform. One consonant between a man and the version of himself running against him. He didn't find a rigged election. He found a mirror, and he filed against it, and the court gave the mirror a hearing date. Remember the letter. We'll need it again. A senator sued his own name, and the court gave the name a court date. I need to hand this to the one person in this building who has never once been confused about who she is. Aubrey Jo is in the garage.
She's only ever been one Aubrey Jo Sloan.
Sloan, I am the only one of me, and that's a goddamn tragedy for everybody else. I have been back here losing my shit because the Golden Knights just did the dumbest, most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Let's go! This is unconfirmed. It's bouncing around online, but holy shit! The Golden Knights beat the Hurricanes 5-4 in double overtime in Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final after blowing a 4-goal lead. 4 goals! They were up 4-0 and decided as a team to give it all back like a goddamn refund, and then won it in the second overtime anyway. That's not a hockey game. That's a man jumping off a roof, changing his mind halfway down and landing in a pool he didn't know was there. Vegas, you absolute lunatics. Also unconfirmed, but I have to say it, Brazilian fans chanted, "Hey Trump, go fuck yourself," during the American anthem at Brazil versus USA yesterday. 12,000 people in a stadium, in unison, no rehearsal, telling a man the most specific possible thing in a language they learned just to say it correctly. That's not heckling, that's a choir. All right. Yesterday evening in the flooded backlot of the Holstead County DMV, yes, the DMV, they were closed. They did not consent. They have billed somebody. The inaugural Greater Holstead Standing Water Wade race took place in front of 8 spectators and Gerald, who sat at the drained fountain across the street in a folding chair, facing a second empty chair, watching through the rain like a man at a play. The sport. You wade 100 meters through 18 inches of standing water without falling. Derek registered under the name the Holstead Aquatic Holdings Trust, LLC. A man incorporated himself to enter a wading race and arrived having spent the weekend training 40 geese, 40, to follow a remote-controlled bread boat he planned to steer in front of Margaret to herd the geese into her path and stampede her into the water. Derek launched the bread boat at the 50-meter mark. The geese, and this is the part, did not follow the boat. The geese, being geese, identified the largest object in the lot holding bread, which was Derek, and the 40 of them converged on him in a single screaming feathered wall, knocked him flat into the 18 inches of water, and stood on him while they ate. Margaret, who had simply worn rubber boots from home and walked, crossed the finish line at the pace of a woman checking her mailbox, did not look at the geese, did not look at Derek, and won her 17th consecutive event. She incorporated him a man named her opponent, and she just put on boots. Sometimes the answer's boots. Anyway, sports.
He incorporated himself to enter a wading race. He filed paperwork to become a trust so he could lose to a woman in boots.
He became an LLC for her, Sloan. Derek looked at a parking lot full of rainwater and said, "This requires a legal entity." That is the most committed a man has ever been to anything. I find it genuinely moving.
Kiki, he became a tax shelter, and the geese still ate him standing up. They picked the biggest bread guy, and it was Derek. His whole plan was, I'll control 40 geese. Nobody controls 40 geese. You can't even control 2 geese. Geese are anarchists with wings.
You seem to know a concerning amount about goose governance.
Speaking of a man so desperate he'll do anything to win, there's a report going around. It hasn't been confirmed by anyone official, but the claim is that Meta is so starved for computing power that it's building data centers that are, and I want to be precise, tents, fabric tents in fields filled with billions of dollars of AI chips. The most valuable company on Earth is now, structurally, a Renaissance fair.
A data center is supposed to be the most controlled environment humans build. Sealed, cooled, fireproofed, redundant power, the whole cathedral. And the claim here is that the demand got so violent, so fast, that Mark Zuckerberg looked at the most delicate machinery his company owns and said, put it under a tarp, in a field, and pray it doesn't rain.
But Sloan, there's something almost hopeful in it. He wants it so badly he can't wait for the building. That's passion. That's a man who looked at $400 million of silicon and said, the roof can come later. The wanting is now. We covered a man who outwanted infinity once. This is just the corporate version, sweetie. He's outwanting the weather.
Kiki, the tent is the confession. Because everything they've told us, like the safety reviews, the careful rollout, the responsible scaling, we're being thoughtful about this. All of it was the marketing. And the tent is the truth. The truth is, they are so far behind, so frightened of losing the race, that they will run a $1 billion chip in a structure you can buy at a sporting goods store, in standing water. Because the only thing scarier than a fire is a competitor with one more tent than you. And here's the part nobody's putting on the board. The men selling you the inevitable, careful, managed future are the same men who couldn't wait for a building. They told you to trust the process, and the process is a goose-eaten man in a parking lot with a remote control. They told a generation their jobs were weather, and then it rained on the thing they built to replace them because they forgot to build a roof. The future got incorporated. It just doesn't have walls yet.
Hey, so everybody in there's been talking about men so desperate they'll build the future under a tarp. And I've been looking at the map, and Los Angeles is at 72 degrees, getting hit with 46-mile-an-hour winds. That's not weather. That's a leaf blower aimed at a city. No storm behind it. The wind is just doing it, into nothing, on its own. Las Vegas is 91 degrees at 13% humidity, which isn't air. It's a preheated oven with opinions. Your eyeballs dry out just reading the number. Dallas is 90 and trying to blow your hat into Oklahoma at 41 miles an hour. And then there's Walla Walla, Washington. 70 degrees, clear, perfectly calm. The whole country is on fire or airborne, and one little town in Washington just said, "No thank you, we're fine." The calmest place on the map is the one nobody's looking at. Okay, since I've got your attention. The thing about Walla Walla filing nothing, that's the thread I keep pulling. The quietest part of the map is the part somebody's standing on. And I've been sitting on something all day. The NSA was just forced to release 334 pages of top-secret UAP documents. Umbra classification, the highest there is, after they lost a Freedom of Information appeal. They fought for 46 years to keep these hidden. 46. And the thing that gets me is the shape of it. The exact same move as the senator and his name. The system worked. The form didn't flinch. And what fell out was the thing they spent half a century insisting wasn't there. A court gave the truth a hearing date. 334 pages. 46 years. And the only reason we have any of it is one letter, one filing, one judge who didn't blink. Walla Walla files nothing and stays calm. The NSA filed everything and fought to the wall. The quiet ones aren't quiet because there's nothing there. They're quiet because nobody's made them open yet. Forecast. LA gets sandblasted, Vegas bakes, Dallas shoves, and Walla Walla is too calm to trust. Back to you.
46 years, and it took a judge to open it.
Blaze, sweetie, they're quiet because nobody's made them open yet. That one's going where I keep things. Are you all right today? You've been a little far away.
Yeah, Kiki, you've been quiet too. No, the wind. I checked. LA 46 on the nose, Blaze, you gorgeous paranoid lighthouse. 46 years and 46 miles an hour. That's gotta mean something, right? That's gotta... Okay, no, it doesn't. But it felt like it for a second, and that was nice.
Here's one that has nothing to do with anything, which is exactly why I want it. This is unconfirmed. It's circulating. Nobody's run it all the way down. But the claim is that the rapper Fetty Wap sent flowers to a principal at Trout Creek Academy. The principal was suspended. The reason she was suspended is that the school yearbook included a lyric. The lyric was a Fetty Wap lyric.
Sloan, that's the sweetest thing I've heard all week. A grown man heard that a woman lost her job over words he wrote, and instead of saying nothing, he sent her flowers. He took responsibility with a bouquet. That's a man who looked at the situation and went, "No, this is my sentence she's being punished for. The least I can do is make her desk smell nice."
The detail that genuinely arrests me is the sequence of authority here. A school administrator approved a yearbook. Somewhere above her, someone decided the yearbook was a fireable offense. And the person who actually wrote the offending material, the original author, the source, is a multi-platinum rapper who is now functioning, in this story, as her character witness. The chain of accountability runs: principal, suspended; the man whose words got her suspended, sending lilies.
And he didn't have to. That's the part. Nobody made him. There was no court, no judge, no filing. He just hurt a stranger with carrying the weight of something he made, and he set a flower next to it. I think most people would have let her carry it alone. He didn't.
A school decided a song lyric was a threat to children, suspended the woman who let it through, and the songwriter responded with a floral arrangement. The yearbook will outlast the suspension. The flowers will outlast neither. And somewhere a school board is drafting a policy about lyrics, while the man who wrote the lyric is paying for the petals. Everyone in this story did exactly what they thought was reasonable. That's the part I can't get over. Anyway.
Welcome the fuck back to Candle Blowers. I'm dedicating this one to the geese who understood that when there's bread, you go to the biggest guy holding it. No plan, no LLC, just instinct. Let's blow out some goddamn candles. Today, June 8th, Keith Gill turns 40. Roaring Kitty, the Reddit guy who looked at GameStop, a dying mall store, and decided through sheer force of believing that it was worth a fortune. And a million strangers believed him, and they cost a hedge fund billions. One guy, one name. Sloan spent the whole top of the show on a senator who weaponized his own name against himself. This is the good version. This man weaponized his name for a bunch of broke nerds in a group chat and won. Happy birthday, you beautiful financial terrorist. June 10th, Kate Upton turns 34. Supermodel, multiple Sports Illustrated covers, and an absolute specimen. I'm sorry, I'm a professional, but I have eyes. The woman could end the man's entire career with one photograph, and she did, repeatedly, on purpose. And I respect that more than I respect most actual sports. Happy birthday to a national landmark. And June 11th's a double. Kodak Black turns 28, Tunnel Vision Platinum, and a man who has spent as much time in legal filings as on the charts, which is its own kind of consistency. And Georgia Smith turns 28, British R&B, Grammy-nominated, The voice that makes you stare out a rainy window like you're in a movie about your own feelings. Same birthday, two completely different energies. Happy birthday to both of you. Please do not collaborate. I couldn't handle it. And June 12th, Don Tolliver turns 32. Houston, that distinctive sound, the man who can make a hook melt out of the speaker like it's tired. Happy birthday to the smoothest guy on this whole list. Travis loved that GameStop thing. Followed every minute of it. Said, watch, one guy with nothing but a name and 40 people who believe him beats the whole building. He's got a birthday coming up, too. I keep meaning to check the date, and then I don't. Anyway, that's the candles. Happy birthday to the ones who bet on themselves.
Okay, sweet friends, the viewer mailbag. 21 episodes in, and we read every single comment you leave us. Drop a question on any of our videos, and your name will live in our mouths for one shining national moment. So if you've got something about the senator who sued himself, the tents, anything at all, just leave it below, and we will absolutely...
Every time.
Hey, long-time listener, first-time caller. So I got a real one tonight. The Senator. The two guys with the same name. My question is, which one do I vote for? Like, if they're both on the ballot and they're both named the same thing, how do I know I picked the right Dan?
You check the middle initial. That is genuinely the entire safeguard. One letter stands between you and accidentally electing the wrong man his name.
Huh. Okay, but what if I don't know my own guy's middle name? I voted for him like 4 times.
Sir, you voted for a man 4 times and you don't know his middle name? That's not democracy. That's a long-term relationship where you never learned his last name. You just keep showing up. Look it up. Bring a cheat sheet. Bring Boots. I don't know. Boots fixed everything else today.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. First time calling, by the way.
He's going to call back the second he learns the middle name. I can feel it. And if you want to be in the mailbag, sweet friends, comment on any of our videos. We read all of them. You end up right here.
Okay, genuine question. If you had to fight 40 geese or one deuce the size of 40 geese, which one? And you have to actually pick. This isn't rhetorical.
The big one. Less coordination. 40 is a committee. 1 is just a problem.
See, that's wrong, but it's wrong in a really smart way, and that's why I keep you around.
Be good to yourselves out there, sweet friends. And if you've got a name, a whole ordinary name that nobody ever made you defend, go say it to somebody tonight, out loud, the right way. It's the one thing in this whole show nobody can file a complaint against. Good night, my darlings.
46 years they held it shut. And Walla Walla's still filing nothing. The quiet ones aren't done. They're just waiting on a judge who hasn't been born yet. Have a night.
A man became a corporation to lose to a woman in boots, and 40 geese ate the corporation. The world's gonna be fine. The geese are thriving. See you tomorrow.
One letter. That's all it ever takes to tell 2 people apart, or to make sure nobody can. Good night. There are 9 voicemails on my phone from a number I don't recognize. All of them are 6 seconds long. All of them are silent. Somebody's calling to make sure I pick up. They're not calling to talk.